Chi-Fi Chronicles Season 2, Episode 21. The Pledge. Jeremy. Screech. Don't be confused by this, guys, when you see it, because the last one was 19, this one's 21. They were just recorded out of order, and I didn't want to go back and fudge around with the numbers. So your eyes don't deceive you. This is episode 21, but there will be one more. So this is the penultimate episode. There's one more for this season. Now, Jeremy, the name of the episode, The Pledge, you might have scratched your head a little bit when you first saw it, because it's not a reference to what we all think of as a fraternity from the pledging of it all. I just thought that the story that you told in many ways of your life, it fit. And here's where I got it, because there's, and I don't want to give away too much of the podcast, but there is the kind of pledge of seeing it through, the pledge with the lease that you sign. I think a little bit to the degree of how you meet your wife, and ultimately for you guys who get to listen to this, because this is a great podcast. When I think back to the introduction and how I mentioned at some point getting to guys that I really don't know, this is a good example. Jeremy and I have met, we've talked a few times, but we really don't know one another. But as a result, a little bit at the beginning of the podcast is choppy, but I think it's just simply because we're kind of feeling each other out a little bit and trying to figure out kind of a rhythm to all of this. Somebody's gonna have a lot of fun with that comment. But anyhow, it found a rhythm. It's great, and I really enjoyed it. But the pledge of it all is that he really feels, something sincere and deep rooted for this fraternity. It means a lot to him for very significant reasons that you will hear in this podcast. But I thoroughly enjoyed the time with him. Great story, super prepared. I mentioned it with fatties and kind of having some notes. I think Jeremy came to the table with a lot that he wanted to say. Like, I know a lot of you guys have told me, we'll get through it, and he'd be like, oh, I forgot certain things. And I'm sure he felt that way too, but he really did a great job with it. And it's a good, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a good kind of proxy for future episodes here as we talk about it. So with that said, I got nothing else, guys. This is The Pledge. Chi-Fi Chronicles, Season 2, Episode 21. I guess that's a good number because there wasn't supposed to be 21, but here we are. So I'm here with Jeremy, and we're going to share some stories. So, Jeremy, good to see you. It's been a long time. I mean, it's definitely been quite some time since I've seen you. So, how are you? How's life? How you doing?
It's been a long time, man. Everything has been good. Everything's been happy since college, and I'm just doing very well.
And if you can see a little bit behind Jeremy, he's a big time Yankee fan. So this is easy for me to talk to a fellow Yankee fan. So, um, Jerry, you're a row. So I'm going, I'm starting to move away from the time that I was there into more of my alumni years and getting to know some of the future generations of the chapter. But before we get to you finding Chi Phi, how do you find Binghamton? So what's your journey to Binghamton?
All right, so I was part of about 15 to 20, maybe more Comac out in Long Island,
Yep.
Comac people who actually got into Binghamton. James Mandanici
Yep.
has been one of my friends, pretty much very close friends since fifth grade. So he was one of those many that actually applied early decision. I decided to not do that because I said, let me see, my grades are good. I actually finished 22 out of 444 people in my grade. So
Pretty good.
considered smart at the time. So I tested Albany, Cornell, got on the wait list, and then ultimately I talked to people who went to Cornell, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to do like a lot of work almost every night." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? No thanks." So I went down what I thought would be a little more fun, and like I said, James is going there with some other close friends. So that's how we found Binghamton.
So, but James is the only person. Is that the only name that I would recognize? Like, is he the
From
only
the
guy for
fraternity, yeah,
fraternity? Okay.
yeah, yeah. From
So
that
that's,
group of
but that's
graduates.
kind of nice. That's like having a blanket to go to school with in some ways, like having a friend.
Oh
Did you
yeah.
guys, did you guys room together?
So since he did early decision, him and our other friend Scott, they
Okay.
applied early decision, so they were able to pick out their rooms, and they chose Hinman. So we didn't know much at the time, but they ended up rooming together. I ended up requesting to be on their floor because I kind of joined the party a little late.
Right.
And at the time, man, I just heard they were sweet. So I figured, oh, cool, everyone hanging out. This is definitely going to be a nice, cool place, where all the cool kids go.
Right.
Um, and then I showed up and I realized it's different vibe. It's a different vibe.
I mean, I don't like we just like what is it academic? Is it like yeah, what is the vibe at Hinman then? Like so what is
The vibe at Hyman, I mean, it's just not the group that really wants to go out and party. I mean, that
okay.
was Newing, apparently. I didn't know
Yeah,
that before.
sure.
That was Newing. CIW was cool. They loved to chill. I don't know what Dickinson did, but
Hmm.
uh when James and I were in Hyman, like we did stick out like sore thumbs. I know I've heard stories now on the podcast of some other guys in Hyman, but when we went out, like honestly, that was our thing. Jeremy and James, we would go out together. Cheers on Thursdays, Ice House, whatever was going on at the time. We were out Thursday,
Right.
Friday, Saturday night, frat parties, and people would get to know us and they'd be, "Where are you from?" We're like, "Oh, we're from him," and they're like, "Huh? What are you guys doing out on a Saturday night?"
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like people just started to know us. We'd show up to parties or wherever, and they'd be like, "Oh, look, it's Jeremy and James from Hinman. It's from Cleveland." They knew our dorm, so we found a way to have fun in Hinman, even with the groups on our floors. But it
Okay.
was, yeah.
Now help me out. So I didn't realize that you and James went to high school together. So what high school is? Is it Comac High
This is
School? I
Comac
don't
High School. Yeah.
okay. And you said before, so you're part of a class of 400. So what is a 48? So that's 1,600 kids more or less, right? Somewhere in that like
Yeah,
650.
that
That's a good
seems
size
about
high
right.
school. It's a pretty decent size high school.
Yeah.
And do you go to Binghamton with the plan? Like, do you know what do you have an idea of what you're gonna study to become or do?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
any thoughts?
Heck yeah, man. I was going to be a famous sports journalist. I knew about Mike Lupica was a name back then. God, somebody actually, Bob Costas, I actually think went to Comac High School.
Okay,
So like these are the guys like I liked and I wanted to be like.
right.
And I, thought I did all the journalism stuff. That's why I went to school. That turned out to be my quote unquote major.
Got it.
Um, that's why I forgot I looked at Syracuse, that huge journalism program.
Yeah,
But
Syracuse is a great journalism program.
I remember it was no, you're not part of this. Sorry, that was Siri. Syracuse was about 25 grand for tuition, and Binghamton was like 10.
Yeah,
And I
Binghamton's
couldn't find it in myself to like spend my parents' money on something I wasn't 100% sure I was going to do in the end. So another reason I chose Binghamton.
got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and for anybody, I mean, I think a lot of the guys who went to Binghamton and who we know are New Yorkers, but for anybody not, in the 90s between the Daily News, the New York Post, the New York Times, Newsweek, I mean, there's incredible sports writing. I mean, it's this the mecca and obviously sports talk radio, which still obviously exists today, but it's just a
yeah.
different. All right, so you were going to be the next Peter King, the next, a new wave Bill Simmons type kind of writer for the
Oh,
future of
yeah, I was going to be famous, man. That's what I was going to do. So right into college, I was in the media. So I right away, probably like the first week, I ran to the WHRW radio station, signed on to be a jockey. Of course, when you sign on and you're a freshman, your airtime I think is like 2:30 a.m. You get a 30 minutes. All you're doing
Yeah.
really is just playing some music that you wanted.
Yeah.
Um, Ultimately, as the years went on, I had a partner and we did like a back and forth radio show where we just made fun of stuff in the news.
It's awesome.
But the big thing for me was the Pipe Dream newspaper. You remember that,
I
right?
do. I do remember the pipe dream. Yeah.
Started off as a journalist, doing men's soccer, women's softball. Loved doing that, and that's was good practice and good vibes. And then I worked my way up to associate sports editor to I think junior and senior year. I was the actual sports editor with one other guy.
Okay.
So I took it seriously throughout my entire college career,
Now,
thinking
when
I
you,
would take this, yeah, to the
no, I was
next
gonna
level
say,
later.
yeah, when you first get there, though, are you fall 97? Are you fall 98? Like, when do you get to Binghamton?
I am fall of 96. I graduated high school in 96.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Did you pledge it? Oh, we'll get to that, I guess. I'm
Yeah,
trying to time frame this a little bit in my mind. All right, so you and Mandanichi know each other. You're
yeah,
the outlaws of Hinman. You're going out. You're having a good time, so you're enjoying your college experience. And I'm pretty sure you're both in the same pledge class, right?
Heck
That's
yeah. So,
yeah. So yeah, how does it all come about? How does fraternity become a part of this conversation for you guys?
all right. So I was not going to pledge a fraternity. No, that's not me. There's no way. All
All
the
of us, right?
stigmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't need to pledge and get hazed to have a group of friends and hang out. I don't know. I was too busy. I did the radio. I had
Yeah.
pipe dream. I wanted to get good grades. Thought that would be distracting. Turned out to be wrong. I actually had the best grades because you guys demanded 3 hours of study time a day, which was more than I was doing. My grades went up during pledging. Um,
Amazing.
but I also had a girlfriend. So I met her. She was on the floor freshman year. We started dating, and then we were definitely boyfriend and girlfriend through the first semester, that fall of my sophomore year.
Okay.
So James was gung ho. He wanted to rush Chi Phi because of Nick Bastidas. They met. I don't know really how they met. Somewhere
Okay.
we had the Comac connection.
Yeah.
Um, so so James is all in, and he was my closest friend, right? Like Jeremy and James from Cleveland. Like, how do I not at least
Yeah.
go with him and see what this is all about and go through the motions? And I went through the motions, and I remember Kevin Chu saying to me, "Oh, dude, don't worry about it. Like, you can still do this if you want to. You'll figure itself out." And I was like, "Okay, maybe he's not wrong." Um, but there was a night during Rush that changed everything for me. So I don't know if you remember, but during Rush, you're not actually allowed to hang out with the brothers because you have to rush three
You're supposed to rush
different places.
multiple fraternities. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't. I trust your memory on
yeah.
this. All right. So you're not supposed to hang. Yeah.
There's no tampering with the witnesses. So
Got it.
there's no tampering, but because of that previous James Nick connection, we were asked to go out during Rush one night, probably Friday or Saturday night. The pies were going out. I remember definitely Nick, Pony, Jugs. We went to this house party, and that's the first time I ever had to play asshole in my life. That was complicated being new and dealing with that. I am not a chugger. I wasn't then.
Right.
And part of that is like, you have to do it. If someone says to do it, you do it. And I'm like, I'm rushing. I can't, like, this is not the life I want. But Pony didn't know that and he didn't care. And he was just like, come on. And he just
Yeah.
kept that finger up and I had to keep going. I like threw up so many times that night and I just kept going. Like, I'm like, nope, I'm doing this. I'm having fun. I'm playing. Pony actually told me later, he's like, man, he's like, that's the moment I knew. Like, you had so much heart. And even though we were being idiots, you just kept going. He told me that. But I'm going to clarify something else that happened that night. Jughead mentioned on his podcast.
Okay.
I'm good with details. So it was that night after this party. We went to a place called, we call it 99-cent breakfast. Have
I
you
know.
heard of that
A
before?
1000%, million, many times. Yep.
So it's basically, for those that don't know, it's basically this shack
Yeah. It's awful.
restaurant. It's not, can't call it a restaurant. It's just a kitchen
No.
with some
Yeah.
seating around it like a diner, but it's really small. So there's a townie who runs it. He's like sitting behind the counter and he cooks in front of you. It's like you're in his house. It's super awkward, super fun when you're drunk. And by the way, it's 99 cents. So
Yeah. That's the
price is
best part.
right.
Yeah, for
Price is
sure.
right. So the guy, we're all talking, having a good time, and he just says to Jughead, he goes, "Give me your best shot." And we're all like, "Whoa, it's a little aggressive." And Jughead's like, "No, I'm not gonna hit you." And then he goes, "No, I said, give me your best shot." And Jughead's like, "I'm not gonna hit you." And then boom, like Jughead clocked the guy, I think in the face. And the guy, he fell back and then he just went, "Bitch." And then we
Oh,
just died laughing. Like that guy took a shot and called Jugs a bitch. I know that's a little deviated from the story Jughead told, but I'm telling you, like that was the moment when I said, these nights are awesome. Like I
right.
want
Yeah.
this is fun. These are the best memories. And that was the night I got hooked. I got hooked, man.
Did you now you're a free agent though? Were you rushing other fraternities? And do you remember who they were?
Um, yes. So I mean, I don't want to tell too much of James's story, but Sigep kind of wanted us to join.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, James's current girlfriend was. his her ex-boyfriend was in SIGAP.
Okay.
So they were kind of pushing us, but I think for the wrong reasons. I think he just wanted to haze the hell out of his ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend.
Mm.
Reasonable. Pi
Well,
Lam kind of asked
wise
us to,
choice, James. Yeah. Yeah.
geez, why did we choose Kai Fi? We looked at Pi Lam a little bit. I had
Okay.
a friend in TAP from Comac, but ultimately, like, I was ride or die with Kai Fi. So,
So you found the beginnings of your tribe.
oh yeah,
But then you and James, do you know anybody else in that pledge class going in, or it's just James?
yeah. So that was sophomore year. It's funny how this is the one thing I kind of forgot. So James and I think Scott moved out of their room and into my suite for sophomore year.
Okay.
So they had one room. I was in another with my roommate, who we asked to pledge, but he just didn't want to do it with us. Didn't want to rush. It just wasn't his thing. Um, and then in the other room in that suite was Farid Khan. So
Oh, got
so
it.
that was the connection Farid had. Just happened to be living on our floor,
Yep.
living in our suite, and because we were Russian, he says, "Oh, I'll do that." So he joined us when we were going down.
So and is that half your pledge class? Are there six of you?
Yes, there are six of us. So
Because
the
hold
rest,
on. So it's Chin.
go for it.
So it's Smithers, right?
Yep,
Is he
yep.
four? After that, I know this, but as I'm sitting here with you right now, I've forgotten who the other two are. So
Joel Almonte and
so
Doughboy.
Doe.
That's Doughboy,
Yep.
and David Smith, the
And
old guy,
Benson. Got it.
Benson. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that rounds out
Another
the six. We had one D pledge,
what a group.
during, but oh,
Yeah.
it's a group. Oh boy.
Yeah, well, you're
Um,
talking about before, like how you're chugging with those guys and drinking. Like one of the guys in your pledge class is an all timer.
oh,
Smithers opens his mouth and just pours it down. So,
he was
uh,
legend, man. I was so proud of him, like doing all the things I can't do. It's like, oh, you know what? You do it. You go, and I'll be the guy that cheers for you.
right,
He took it for the team.
that's great. That's awesome. All right, so what is pledging like under the pies and my eyes? The guys that I left behind. Like, what's that experience like for you?
So one of the reasons I ended up liking or choosing Kai Fi because I looked at these guys and they were known as the nice guy fraternity, and they were awesome. I had so much fun during Rush. I walked away from Rush thinking, these guys, they're so nice. They're not going to haze. This is going to be easier than I thought. I'm going to get into a fraternity, and I'm probably not going to get hazed as much as some of the other. This is great.
Yeah.
I should have read further into that look I saw on Pomsey's face when I was walking away from that Rush event. Like, I still see that smile, that smirk walking away.
Oh,
Like, I didn't realize what it said, but it
fresh
definitely
meat,
it
fresh
said
meat.
fresh meat. That's exactly what it said,
It's great.
dude. I was wrong. I misjudged that hazing aspect, but it was all good with me because I don't know. I was a smaller guy. I liked the challenge. I actually liked it. I don't know. I'm a weird dude. I liked the challenge and the pain, and the leadership. So it was all
Right.
fun.
Well, yeah, like how does that pledge class for you round out, Jeremy? Like what roles are people taking? What role are you
Okay,
taking? Who are you in your pledge class?
I'll tell you. So as a whole, and the pies and the Zais, they'll tell you they refer to us as the dumb rows. We were the dumbass rows. Like,
Okay.
we made a lot of dumbass mistakes. I mean, we're talking the simple of stuff. I mean, listen, we had Doughboy, who was kind of laid back, didn't really care. You
Yeah.
had um, you had Mark, who, with the physical stuff, he didn't love it so much, and
Yeah.
he'd be like, we'd be doing Kai Fis, you'd be doing whatever that stuff is, and he'd be like, "Oh, I gotta stop, I'm injured," and they'd be like, "Smithers, what's your injury?" It's like, "My shoe fell off." Uh, okay, that's embarrassing.
Uh,
Let's just what? How is
yeah.
that an injury? Like, we just said and did the stupidest things. One example, I hear you guys talking about the
Uh,
cemetery,
yeah.
the stenciling.
Yes.
I mean, Snapper and Leif were our pledge masters, okay? So we constantly disappointed them, I felt. So they sent us in. we had to do this thing with the dates and the famous brothers, and
Yeah,
we spent a long time in that cemetery, and they kept come back to check in on us. I think Snapper kept checking in. It's like, how are you guys not done? How are you guys not done? We were looking for the dates. I know we had the marker and the paper. We thought we were actually looking for the
the
actual
exact
date that
dates.
the exact dates.
I'm
So
not
how
lying,
many
Jeremy.
hours
I
were
think I think the Zy Pledge class might have had that experience for a split second until somebody with good sense was like,
no,
"What? What do you mean? We don't have to find the exact date. Just stencil the numbers. Like, what are we doing?"
no, it was we didn't
You guys
piecemeal
were
this
searching it
together.
out. That's
It
great.
was not cool. Snapper came yelling, and she's like, "Did not you see Indiana Jones or whatever the heck it was?" And
Yeah.
we were all like, "This is making more sense." I mean, completely dumb. But that's who we were, dumbass Rose.
Yeah, but like you said, okay, so Smithers is the maybe not the physical fitness guy. It's been described to me many times over that Dave Smith is the I really don't give a shit, take this serious at all guy of this
Oh,
process. And then
it's all
you and
bullshit, bro. It's all bullshit. Like, with that attitude, listen, he
yeah,
wasn't wrong either. He wasn't like
yeah,
it all had meaning, but at the same time, like just stay focused and do what you're supposed to do, do what they did. I have one story though, like just how dumb
go.
we were.
Yeah,
Ready for
go.
this?
Yeah.
All right. I'm a little uncomfortable like saying this one. I'm getting so many people nervous. No, guys, it's not that.
Oh, please,
But
please go.
listen, so we were always trying to prove ourselves because we were the dumbass Rose. So
Yeah.
one night, either Snapper or Leif, our pledge masters, gave us a mission, and it was to capture/kidnap the president of the fraternity. And poor Andrew Shoulder did not deserve that because he did not know that this was the mission.
Yeah.
And we showed up to the house with my car, um, and we were like, we gotta. This is our mission, guys. Like, we can't fail them. We fail them all the time, and we made it our mission to like. We're like, you're coming with us. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I felt so bad. Like, but we were like, guys, no, this is part of it. This is part of it. He's supposed to resist. And he resisted like
Yeah.
he should. And we just did not want to fail this mission again. And he was livid. And eventually we were like, you know what? I don't think this is actually planned. Like, I don't think every pledge class did this. And
Nope.
he may have yelled Upsilon Alpha, and I think the only person in the house was Sean Flynn.
Yeah.
And Sean comes down, and he was so pissed
Andrew.
about it.
Yeah.
He was like, "Okay, uh, here's the audible. Instead of taking Andrew, you're gonna say you captured me, threw me into the car, and drove me off to wherever you're going." And he's like, "This is like Sean, who like plays rugby."
Yeah.
We're like, "So we're supposed to convince?" Okay. He's like, "We'll say you're drunk." He goes, "It's not really like an exaggeration."
Not a stretch. Yeah.
So Sean saved the day there, but oh my god, the aftermath of that, like Andrew was showing up on campus, and we got like 1,000 demerits. Like we thought we were doing the right thing, but it was memorable for me because
Oh,
I love the guy
Carolyn.
to death, and I
On
would
Carolyn.
never do that on
Yeah.
purpose. But man,
Well, I
college.
think I talked about it. I think I talked about it in Angelo's. Maybe I did. I don't know. But we almost kidnapped the Zy Pledge class almost without being asked to do it.
Oh, okay.
Almost kidnapped Angelo Frusciante one night. Yeah, we realized he was the only one in the house, and he was making us sing "Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy" over and over for hours on end until finally we were done with it, and we kind of looked under our blindfolds and we're like, I don't see anybody else's feet. I'm like, should we
This
just
was
take?
a
Should we
mutiny.
just?
It
Yeah, should
sounds
we
like a
take?
mutiny.
Yeah, we were thinking like, should we just take this guy and literally drive him as far as humanly possible? But we were just thinking, boy, what are the ramifications of all this if we do it? Maybe that's not
Yeah,
the best idea in the world
no,
to do it.
not really.
Where are your guys' road trips the typical? Do you do a Cornell? Do you do a trip to Cornell and the other trips? What are your road trips for the Rose?
Well, we went to Cortland. I'll start there.
Okay.
We did that again, disappointed the brotherhood, not just our pledge masters, because I guess we were supposed to come back with a few things. We came back with probably some lawn decorations from Halloween because that was that time of year, which meant
Yeah.
we also came back with the big orange pumpkin bag of leaves. We thought we thought that was Um, cool. Boy, did we under deliver.
Yeah.
What is this? This is the gift of the brotherhood. What? You guys are the dumbass roads.
Uh,
What is wrong with you? Oh my god! Like they like broke open those bags and dumped it on us, and I'm sure there was Ki-Fi's involved. So yeah, um,
who's the driver, Jeremy? Who has the car? Are you the driver?
it was
Who's
me.
okay.
So we started off with seven, but got down to six early,
Yeah.
which was fine. I think I had a Grand Prix um, that I drove. The running joke, by the way, you will hear this, is because James was so well loved by Nick and brought in by Nick. I was like the other one, and honestly, like I felt that way probably throughout my entire college career, probably even afterwards. It was like a really bad stigma feeling I kind of got, whether it was real or not. It was in my head,
Okay.
but I had the car also.
Yeah.
So when they were like making the pledge class, I'm sure that, oh well, what happens if we don't give a bid to Jeremy? Is James not going to do it? Like, and then also like I had the car, so thank God.
Nah, I'm
Sometimes you
sure
just
you were
gotta
gonna
go.
you were gonna get a bit. Mandanici's not
I,
that great.
I,
Jesus. I'm gonna get crazy.
I thought he was. So yeah, I had the car. And then yeah, our second road trip was to Cornell. Um, we upped our game, I would say a little bit, but unfortunately, for the sake of a podcast, I'm gonna have to leave it at that.
No, that's
But
good. That's
but we had a
good.
good time.
No,
Yeah,
the
we
other
had.
ones. Well, I mean, you have anything else? Any other pledge stories that you wanna give air to here?
Um, Let me think.
This is great. He's
Like
getting notes.
Fatty,
This
so
is this
I,
is
I
what
do
this is
have
what I
some
want. I
notes,
want
but
you guys to be prepared.
no, like I think that is my number one pledge story. So I'm good with all
So
those.
let me ask you the question that nobody's been able to answer.
Oh boy,
Do
yeah.
you remember how long you pledged for? Do you have any sense of time back then and how long, how many weeks it was? Because you could tell
Really?
me I have no recollection. Everybody's kind of like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, 12.
For the rose, you mean?
Yeah, but whatever, however long you pledged is
Oh, okay.
probably how long the rest of us did. But I don't know. Do you remember how many weeks it was?
Yeah, I kind of do. So, weird coincidence. My my best friend since I was three, I actually grew up with three. Um, he went to Penn State, was a grade younger than me. He
Okay.
rushed and pledged Chi Phi the same semester I did,
That's
and we did
amazing.
it unbeknownst to each other
That's
until we already
amazing.
got bids. He went to Penn State and he
Yeah.
pledged like, oh, dude, I think he pledged somewhere between like 12 and 18 weeks.
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure, like, I think I pledged 7 or 8. Does that sound too small?
No, I think because in the span of a semester, it's about right. A
Okay.
semester isn't that long. I just think when you're not, I mean, we weren't all sleep deprived, but when you're kind of on this haphazard schedule of
Yeah.
events and things like that, especially that last week, time starts to stand still a little bit, or it just seems like it's never going to end. I just don't remember. I just don't
What
remember
what
how long it
happened
was.
is we got in. Oh, we got in um right before Thanksgiving break. So they're making it sound like it went after. But it actually they had their hell week and weekend before. So it was probably less than 8 weeks. And oh my God, you just reminded me of one other story during
Okay.
pledging I have to tell. Um, so this kind of has to do with uh everyone's like, oh, what's your swing order? I thought you were gonna ask me what my swing order was. I didn't think you were gonna ask me how many weeks because I was with, as you know, Stanley came to Long Island last week.
Yeah.
Was it last week? So they were asking me, oh, where did you swing? Like, I can't believe people forgot how I swung. And there's a story with that. James was like the best pledge the whole
Okay.
time, right? We had some people who were lazy and mess ups at the bottom, but I was James's partner in crime. Like we were 1-2. We were 1-2 the whole way. The
Right.
whole way, except during Hell Week. I think it was a Thursday night, right before Hell Weekend. Leif, I'm gonna say Leif, not Snapper. Leif had a great idea to do something that is known as Red Dawn.
Oh,
So the brothers that are still listening right now just heard those two words and are like, oh my God, is he really going to talk about this? And
Please.
yes, okay, it's been weighing on me. So I did what some people might call a little bit of a mistake.
Okay.
So Red Dawn, in Leif's mind, probably from a movie I never saw. He thought it would be
It's a classic. Yeah, I mean, it's not. There's been two versions of this movie, but the original one is with all like the guys who were in like the original Outsiders movie. I mean,
oh, trust me,
we might relive it in the next couple of years, but that's another podcast. But all right, so
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so
let me tell
tell me.
you, it's still a Ki-Fi classic. So the idea was the pledges against the entire fraternity of brothers, where we went out into the woods. And it was like, I think it was capture the flag,
Mhm.
except there were six of us. And how many of them? 30 in a
Probably, I was
game
gonna
of capture
guess.
the flag. The difference was Leif, at least, had a BB gun, or no, a paint gun, a paintball gun, or I don't know what it was. It was, let's go with paint gun
Yeah,
or BB gun that he would shoot at us. And so we're playing this game and kind of like getting our butts kicked because I feel like we were outnumbered
to say the least.
a
Yeah.
little bit. And it was a great bonding, fun night until the moment that I thought it was a good idea to rally the team after we just lost our flag one time. And I said, guys, if we're going to win, we have to go after their weakest link.
No.
And
No.
I named a name.
Yeah.
In that moment, I thought to myself, I'm going to name somebody I respect so much that I'm in love with, and everyone's going to know that I don't mean this. Okay?
Yeah.
So, Mike, you don't know the story, do you?
I don't know this story. I think
So
I know who
you're
you
like,
said, but I don't want to say the name out loud. That's
okay.
what, yeah.
So I said, let's go for their weakest link, brother Joe LaBarbara.
Oh,
And
I didn't think you were gonna say that.
the beat stopped. I
Oh,
just, like I said, it was one of the dumbest things I could ever do. I was probably funny up until that point, wall of pledging, class clown, maybe annoying, sarcastic. But in that moment, like I said, one of the most regretful things I ever said. And by the way, I said it because I thought no one would know that, like, no one think I'm serious. It's Joe. I love him. Like,
right.
I prefed him for Big Brother. Like, but everyone just turns around and looks at me like, did he just do that? Did he just
What did you
say
just say? Yeah.
what? Oh my God. And then I felt awful. But guess what? Who does that the weekend before Hell Weekend?
Oh, even worse. Great timing.
It,
Jesus.
it was like, if you thought anybody had it bad Hell Weekend, like I had to earn my colors. No pun
Yeah.
intended, bro. I had
Yeah.
to earn my colors Friday, Saturday, and Sunday like nobody else. People, I'd be blindfolded. People come up to me like, I'm so sorry I'm giving you this extra pain, but like, you effed up.
Yeah.
And it was painful. It was a painful weekend, but it cost me swing order from 2 to 3.
Oh, I was gonna say, did it cost you
Oh,
all the way? But it didn't cost you all the way
it
down the line.
people still believed in me enough and didn't want to let that one thing, but like the pain, man. And Joe, I know you're listening. I'm sure I told you 100 times. And like I said, I picked you because of the level of love and respect I had for you. Still a bad decision. I want you to know that I still regretful, but I know we're good at this point. Love you. I think I
So
said that.
so wait, yeah. So wait, so if Mandanichi is one and you're
Right.
two, so who slides into the two spot?
Doughboy.
Doughboy takes the
Yeah,
two.
I mean,
You
listen,
take the
dude, he's
three.
funny. What was that?
No, so well, yeah. So you falling behind him at three. Is Dave last? Is he pulling up the rear with all his or is I don't like yeah,
You
what's
know,
the order?
people liked Doughboy because
I like Doughboy. Yeah, I
He's
thought he was great.
funny. He's personable. You punch his belly, and go like this. He goes he. I mean, that's
Hmm.
great. So that's why he was going 2 3. I think, man, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Dave Smith Benson might have been 4,
Four. All
Smithers
right.
5, or in that order. Um, and then I'm pretty sure Fareed was 6.
Breed was
But
6.
like
Okay.
again,
Yeah.
you lost me after 3 for obvious reasons.
But now wait, does Red Dawn remain? Does that become a like
Oh
a thing
hell
for
no!
future
I mean,
pledge
dude,
classes?
the pledges were. I didn't understand the risk of eyesight. Apparently, like if you get shot in the eye, you're blind. Like, so
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Like David, the older guy in our group, Benson was all like, "Yo, guys, this isn't safe," and like legit mad. And I was probably trying to be like, "Yeah, look at all this pressure under."
Yeah.
But no, they eliminated that probably for a couple reasons.
So the movie Red Dawn, Jeremy, starts in a high school classroom, and all of a
Oh,
sudden these kids are sitting in class and the teacher's teaching, and you see the teacher kind of loses attention span, and
right?
he's looking out the window, and all the kids are like, "What's wrong with the teacher?" And they look out, and you just see parachutes dropping down, and
Oh
it's
dear.
the Russian army has invaded the United States, and all these kids
Okay.
kind of put their faces up to the, just thinking like, "What the hell is this?" And then they open fire on them, and it's just game on
Oh
from
my
there.
God.
And it's like I'm trying to think, it's Swayze, it's Rob Lowe, like it's all those kind of teenage heartthrobs from the 80s. Like it's a pretty badass movie. I don't know how I haven't seen it in 30 years. I'm not sure if it's aged well through all
Yeah.
of this. So in a tight pledge class like that, so obviously James is a lifelong friend, one of your closest friends. Who else is there anybody else within that 6 who becomes a really close, but obviously I'm sure you guys all became friends, but
Yeah.
is anybody so I was gonna say,
In that class, I mean, listen, I am a loyal dude. Like, I'm personable, I'm outgoing, I love people, and I love being friends with my brothers. So yeah, James was so close before, so close during. Mark, man, like Smithers, I was the best man at his wedding.
really? That's
So yeah, that
fabulous.
was
That's awesome.
that was really important to me. I knew Mark because of pledging, and he actually ended up marrying Becky, who lived on a floor on the Cleveland 3B floor with me
No
and
kidding.
James.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of how he ended up meeting her through our friendships, and I was the best man at his wedding, and it was awesome. We don't see each other as much because he's out in New Jersey, I'm out here on Long Island,
Right.
and let's see, barely talked to Benson, but I know he's going to the reunion. Don't keep in touch with Freed,
Yeah.
and Doughboy and I kind of lost touch over the years as well. So,
Got it.
but my people were the pies, right? Like
Yeah.
they're the same grades, same number of years, the Omicrons and Zis, and of course the people that came after me. So,
Right. I
yeah,
understand. I get
yeah.
it. All right. So you're in the fraternity, now what? Like, but wait a second.
Oh boy,
Are
yeah.
you still sports journalism? Like, are you still gung ho? Has anything changed? Because
Heck,
as far as I know, you don't write for a newspaper. I don't think I've seen you on ESPN. So I don't, and we'll circle to where you are professionally later down the line. But I
yeah.
guess, so now you're in the fraternity, you're still pursuing the same thing, for a potential, career path. But where are you living? Where are you living the next year? When do you live in the fraternity house? Are you in the Pyro house? Like,
Oh yeah. So I love the fact that you asked me this. So the funny thing about the Pyro House is they came to me and James while we were pledging, and they
huh.
needed 2 more guys to fill this fake house. I'm sorry, my lighting is
No, that's
is
okay. You're
getting a
good.
little wonky right now. So they were asking us while we were pledging. I mean, if you ever had any thoughts of de-pledging, like, and then someone's coming to you and saying, "Oh, you're gonna live in basically the alternate fraternity house,"
Right. Yeah. You're like, I'm in.
it's like, oh my God, like,
Yeah. It's a done deal.
I guess I'm going through this. So I had to make that decision. Me and James, we were together in Hinman sophomore year, and then yeah, then junior year we moved into the Pyro house, and we were pledges when we signed that paperwork, and I'm thinking, you dumb bastards, now you can't kick me out. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they
Right.
didn't like me, or they didn't want to, I felt like they weren't going to cross the line because, well, these guys are living with us next year. So
Yeah.
that was a nice blanket security net that they gave me unintentionally.
You were like, I'm gonna really test the boundaries of this, and I'm gonna call one of them a weak ass link. I'm gonna really fuck with these guys and see how
Oh
far I
my
can push
God,
this. Joe's like, rip up that goddamn lease right
you
now.
you may be right. Uh,
No, they
could have
love you.
factored in. Oh my God.
Um, do you have, you definitely strike me as somebody who's ambitious in life. So do you have ambitions to be a part of the e-board at some point? Do you want to
So,
do you want to have a bigger role in the fraternity outside of just being in it?
so I mean, my role it goes twofold. So I I never wanted to be, I mean, kind of wanted to be, but I never did Chi-Fi e-board.
Okay.
You know, my link actually to what just doing something Chi-Fi, there was twofold. One, I was assistant pledge master. I'm doing this on
Mm,
purpose for the Upsilon pledge class, which was the spring of '99,
yep.
second semester. Um, it kind of hit me like I was before senior year. I had so many credits built up, and I'm like, I'm gonna technically graduate early, but my parents let me stay longer,
Okay.
just to kill some time. But I needed something to do. So Brian got introduced as the pledge master, and when they first got their pledge names and all that, so on
Yeah.
Sweet Chuck's podcast, he's like, Jeremy, he was our assistant pledge master. I don't know why he got so mad every time like we brought that up. It's because the introduction was assistant pledge master because I didn't know my commitment. But like I'm telling you, like before day one or on day two, I was like, me and Brian Woodhouse, we were both all in. We did
Yeah.
everything the whole way through. So anytime someone mentioned assistant pledge master, I'd be like, I'm not assistant, I'm pledge master. Like I did as much as Brian. I wanted as much credit as Brian.
Yeah.
And to hear these guys who don't know politics, like I'm there every night. So
Right.
I felt I like that was why I had that stigma. It was annoying. But Brian and I were very different people, like which was great. You need a yin and yang for
Yeah.
good cop, bad cop, different vibes. So I was kind of more of like the emotional, like want that emotional connection to the fraternity. So, I tried to create the bonding moments. Brian did all that too, but he was also like really adamant about the physical side. So the
Yeah.
running joke among the Epsilons when we weren't there, apparently we found out afterwards, they made fun of us behind our back. They'd be like, oh yeah, Jeremy, he'd yell at us and be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm so angry at you. Get down and give me one Chi-Fi. I just didn't have the heart to
Yeah.
like truly punish them. I wanted them to feel my
Yeah.
pain, but do your goddamn Chi-Fi. And then Brian would be like, blah, blah, blah. He'd be so mad. He'd be yelling. And then they'd be like, now get down and give me 1,000 Chi-Fis.
Right. Just kill
He
him.
just
Yeah.
so unreasonable. But we had a lot of fun. So that was my Chi-Fi contribution. But also, um, I don't know if you know or remember, but Binghamton University, the campus also had like a Greek e-board, like a Greek board.
Yeah, I
Probably
do. I know exactly what you're talking about. I do remember this. Yep.
it had no authority. I think it was just there so that campus can say here, different fraternities represent Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, whatever it was. So, that was my thing. Like, I joined that as like the secretary one year. It was a crap show of nothing.
Hmm.
And then I think the president of the Greek e board, I think whoever it was, their fraternity got in trouble and lost their charter or whatever on
Oh
campus.
shit. Yeah.
It's like, oh, who wants to be president? And everyone just looked at me and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I did that, and then I ran the following year. But it was great because it kept us connected to campus, and I worked
Yeah.
with that person, Tiffany, who, Chi-Fi was in, and she knew me, and I was a good role model, and it was really great. But the one thing that we got out of that, I did the first ever. I organized a Greek event that's never been done before. So I picked a night, and all the fraternities hosted a different, like a drinking event. So
Yeah.
whether it was chugging or flip cup or name the other different drinking games you play, each fraternity had one, and it was like a fraternity crawl just for the fraternities, right? Maybe
Yep.
maybe the sororities as well. So I created like a schedule, and everyone showed up, and it was pretty much a tournament for like points and stuff. And since I was running it, I picked my 21st birthday
Nice. That's awesome.
to have this happen to be a Saturday night.
Right.
So this was actually the night of what you know as the projectile vomit.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly
So
what you're talking about. Yep.
yeah, so after the chugging event at our house, Smithers, I guess,
It's
probably
amazing.
won.
It's
He
amazing.
probably won. And God knows how many times he had to do it. And, I was the guy with the camera back then. So I somehow ran upstairs to get it after the fact. But all senior year, was it senior year? Yeah, all senior year, I was capturing our moments the way Baca did junior year.
Yeah.
And oh my God. So I have the aftermath on tape where, I mean, Smithers, was it 6, 7, 8, 9 feet? Like it just flew across and it smacked Samsonite
Tips.
in his like light blue, like sweater vest or whatever he was wearing. And just the look in his face, even after I had the camera, like he was still in shock. And then everyone started like heaving, like you see throw up, everyone, it was just,
Yeah.
oh my God. And then all of a sudden people are
It's
in the
Stand
bathroom,
By Me. It's Stand By Me come to life. It's
everyone's
so
throwing
great.
up.
It's so
But
great.
yeah, that was a legendary night, my 21st birthday. So glad that we had that. A great experience all around.
So you were like the grand alpha. You weren't the alpha. You were the alpha alpha.
I
You're
was
the,
like,
you're the
yeah, I
grand
didn't.
poobah of campus.
Yep, that's right.
I don't
I
think
had
anybody
my
else.
fingers everywhere. I
No,
had
no
my
one else
fingers.
has that distinction. You're the only one, probably.
I had my hand in the Greek e-board. I had my hand in journalism at the Pipe Dream. I was on the radio promoting our stuff. Like tentacles everywhere, baby.
Yeah. What about
Yeah.
girls? Is there, you mentioned a girlfriend at one point for a while, but I don't think
Yeah.
that was the one that became the one. So,
No. So, um, again, freshman year, we were living on 3B, and on our floor, there were some girls that we hung out with all the time, and one of them, her name was Sharon. She ended up being my girlfriend, and again, that was another reason I hesitated about going into
yeah.
a fraternity, because I had a girlfriend, and a lot of guys go into a fraternity to meet a girl, and I had
Yeah.
one. And the catch, though, she was going to Spain. So that
Okay.
my first, she was a grade older than me, and she was going to Spain for that semester I was away. And I think that also helped click in my head, like, what am I going to do here? Sit around and wait for her to come back, miss out on hanging out with James? Like, so she went away. I pledged. Uh, I think we both came back different people
Yeah.
after that semester was over.
Sure.
So we ended up breaking up, I think, not too long after she got back. I think we both had trust issues.
Got it. Got it.
And that was first semester sophomore year. And then that led to I guess I was on my own second semester sophomore year. And after that, that's when life really changed for me.
Okay.
So it was a extremely difficult time when we were going home from sophomore year. It was probably late May, and I was home when my father got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Mm.
So, up until that moment, like I was just happy go lucky, always joking around, always having fun, being a goof, loving life, Billy Madison character type of guy.
Yeah.
And um, that came out of like nowhere. So, like I said, obviously my life changed, but
And I
um,
meant to ask you earlier, Jeremy, are you an
yeah,
only child? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger sister
Younger.
who's
Um,
4 years younger than me.
okay. So you're a sophomore in college. So she's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, so we were
Okay.
never in college at the same time. She went to
Got it.
UMass after I
Got it.
graduated. So
Are you, but wait, I'm
yeah,
trying to timeline this in my mind. When you go home at that point, are you in the fraternity? Are you now a
yeah.
member?
So
So you've had,
I
oh,
was
Jesus, you've had like this kind of euphoria kind of then.
yeah, life was
Jeez.
amazing. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's first semester of my sophomore year, I pledged, enjoy being a brother without the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Second semester of that sophomore year, and then that summer I went home before junior year, before being in the pyro house and all that.
Right.
He was diagnosed and it was stage 4. So, that was like, obviously really tough for me. And I was talking to my parents about staying home. Like,
Yeah.
this is real life. Like, you want to be with your dad.
Of course.
Um, you believe that chemo's going to work. My dad was, the strongest man you've ever met. an amazing person, an awesome role model. And he was a fighter. He was competitive. Like, he
Yeah.
loved to win. And I just chalked it up to, he's going to beat this.
Of
Like,
course.
he's the one who beats the miracle. You know, he's the miracle
Of
guy.
course. Of course.
You know, unfortunately, that doesn't always work out in the real world. So,
Yeah.
I made the decision to go back for
Okay.
junior year. You know, I think he pushed me to do that because he knew how much fun he had. He was in a fraternity. I couldn't tell you which one, when he was in college.
Hmm.
And he didn't want me to miss out on any experiences. And I didn't want to miss out on any experiences. So I just kind of
Yeah.
trusted the chemo. I trusted the system. And I went back junior year. And obviously, like, I had my moments where I wasn't myself and I was
Of course.
depressed out of nowhere. That usually aligned with the times I was drinking beer, like we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Um, but the fraternities, like, support through that year, junior year of him being sick. Um, you know, whether it was that year or the year after, like, people were watching me, like, even when I didn't know it. And if I lost it, like, I'll never forget, like, some guys were just there on top, just ready to go. You know, I remember one time I just, you know, something triggers me, and
Of
then
course.
boom, I saw Pony snap his fingers, and 4 or 5 guys were like surrounding me and picking me up. Um, I didn't go into the fraternity thinking that
Yeah.
Chi Phi was going to be my lifeline, that I was going to need the kind of support
Right.
that it offered the brotherhood. But I mean, who knew that, you know, these brothers would be the people that kind of saved my life and gave me
Right.
happy times, fun times. I don't think I would have had that support group if I didn't pledge.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know, he ended up passing after junior year.
Okay.
So over that summer, um, on July 7th, he ended up passing, in his sleep, where I was at work. And obviously, I didn't know it was, we were not around my brothers at the time, right? So I didn't know what information was getting passed around. I only focused on my family. Now being the alpha in the house kind of sucked, you know, at that age. But I was, you know, getting through the funeral. Um, I remember before the funeral, when you're all standing around and, you know, I'm seeing family and friends, and I was hanging in
Yeah.
there. I was doing okay. But man, like, I'll never forget the moment the string of fraternity brothers walked into that room. And I was like, I was okay, like, up
Yeah.
until that moment. But like, to see it, and the day I saw Schedio's like head, you know, above everybody else, and I
Yeah.
saw he was there to support me, and with all those guys that was with him, it was like, that was the moment. That was the moment, really, when the brotherhood walks in. That was the moment where I break down and like get emotional. Like,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
No, I get it. I mean, it's, grieving is it's a terrible experience. I mean, it's very personal for you with your father, but what are the moments that are going to kind of trigger something or a
You never
memory?
know.
And I think you shared, we're recording this on March 15th, Jeremy, and I think, unless I misunderstood a phone call recently, is today your dad's birthday?
It is, man.
How old
So,
would your dad have been today?
crap. Born in 1949.
Okay, so
I don't do
we
math
can do
well.
this math. So he would have been 75.
51 plus 24.
Yeah, it would have been 75.
Damn. So
75th
the
birthday.
fact
Okay.
that we were talking about a podcast, and then you said, "Does this date work for you?" I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
shouldn't
somebody
say
else,
Jesus.
somebody,
I'm
yeah.
Jewish.
No, it's all
But
good. I'll give you a
like
pass.
like I'm like, how does this keep happening? How does
Yeah.
life work? Like, how is he asking me to do something that was so personal to me, Chi Phi, my dad, on my dad's birthday? It's just, of all the random days you could have asked.
Yeah.
That was really
No,
awesome.
it's yeah, the stars are aligning for it.
Yeah.
This is about you, but like tell me about your dad. Like what did your dad do for a living? Like what was his profession?
So he was in sales. So he worked for Bic Corporation and
Okay.
loved it. So pens, lighters, shavers,
Yep.
all that fun stuff. And he worked out here on Long Island, and he was really good at it. He did well, made money, won trips, was loved, was personable. You know, hopefully all the things that I have going on for me in my life, I just
You
try and
attribute some of
emulate
that.
that.
Yeah.
And I wish I could still ask him for advice and how to do better and be like him. But I'm doing pretty well. And we are our parents,
Yeah. No,
hopefully that's a
I
good thing.
bet. Um,
Um,
so what, I guess before we go post college, like anything
yeah.
else from the Chi-Fi years you want to get out there?
Oh
Is there
yeah,
any, I
like
mean, I think that's a really
100%.
important memory, that one that you just shared. That's awesome. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. That's great.
Yeah, no, let's bring it back to a happy place.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no, all good.
yeah. So, no, I'm glad we touched on that, of course, but so junior year, um, so I'm just coming back. My dad's been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm ready to like start doing school again. And one of those 15 to 20 people from Comac I talked about,
Yeah.
um, her name was Michelle. She was an Alpha Phi, and I probably mentioned I thought one of her friends was cute, and
Okay.
I think it was like the first weekend back. She introduced me to Trina, who was like her
I
sorority
know.
sister and
Yep.
roommate. So I kind of probably asked for that. Got that introduction out of the way early in junior year. Our timing wasn't right, but like me and James would always be talking about, excuse me, like the girls that I was, into or seeing or, trying to see. And she was always like there. She was always like right there.
Right.
But like the one I could see myself with, everything I liked about her, she also happened to be Jewish. She was sweet and pretty and everything I wanted. But like I wanted the college experience too.
I understand.
So you got to play it right.
Sure.
So first semester junior, um, we really weren't, that like that together. But second semester, she actually was in more of my classes for journalism and started doing the pipe dream. So,
Yeah.
one day I see her in the office for the first time. I'm probably associate sports editor or sports editor at this point with all my confidence. I
Yeah.
just like walk right up to her and while she's sitting there typing like this, and I sit in her lap and she's looking at me and
Old.
she's like, who? What the
What the
gusto on this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I just sit down on her lap and start talking to her. And um, I guess that worked
Yeah.
because,
No,
going
confidence,
back to Michelle, who
Jeremy.
the hell
Yeah.
is this guy? Who just goes up to somebody and does that? Well, it gets her talking. And by the end of that junior year, she invited me to her formal, um, which was a ton of fun. And then 2 weeks later, I reciprocated, bringing her back to my formal, the Chi Phi formal. And we went home that summer. And that is when my father passed away. So they actually never met.
Mm,
But like they were in the house the same night, maybe even the night before or a couple days before that. He was already like asleep.
yeah.
They were in the same house. So it's almost like, you know, one angel left, another one came into my life, and
Yeah. Two
it was
huge,
like the
huge people in your life. That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's like
Yeah.
the passing of a candle almost. And my life got better
Yeah.
being with her and kind of figuring out like which turns into love and understanding all that. And we ended up getting married. So
That's
who knew?
awesome.
Yeah,
No, that's great. Now, like you said, there'll, be, God willing, no darker moments, but that's the low point, for
right,
you. But
right.
then to have the other thing walking in. All
Yeah.
right. I need to ask you a question. The other, about a week ago or so, I was lucky enough to join this monster Google thing with all these guys watching old videos from
Okay.
past my time.
Yeah.
But when did the roast at the formal idea come about? So there is this moment where all the
Really?
seniors, yeah. So when I was a senior at our senior formal, there was no moment where the graduating class was acknowledged in any way. But there's clearly this moment for the guys when, because I can't see you, right? In the video, we're only seeing the guys who are, it's a lot of my Xi Pledge class there who are going to be soon graduating from Binghamton. But one by one, you guys are coming up and doing these incredible
Oh my
ropes that,
God.
and they're awesome because they're specific. They're very detail oriented. It's not like, oh, Pomsy can be a little crazy sometimes, and Skedio, he can be a little scary.
Oh,
Like
they were roasts.
I mean, they're freaking amazing. So I mean, like, when did that
All
start?
right. I love that. I love that you love them because I'll tell you
Amazing,
something.
amazing.
I it wasn't until I saw the videos did I even remember that like I read them. I created them with like one or two or three other brothers. Actually, until you said that, I thought that that was a tradition. Like I'm
No,
shocked that that was my junior year, so the Baka season, I'll call it.
yeah,
Yeah, we did all of theirs. I guess that was the first one because you didn't do it the year
no.
before.
Yeah, so I don't know if if you Kappa guys are still tuning into these, like
Oh my
it's
God, you missed out.
and for the Muse and the Lambdas, yeah, and anybody else beyond there, these guys one by one would come up and somebody underneath them, like in the fraternity,
Right?
would just spend anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 minutes, kind of like a Comedy Central roast, right? In many ways, just being like, and go, and I can't do it justice, but
Hysterical. But
it's
I
did
love
that, so that stayed on like that, like when you graduated, somebody roasted you?
yeah,
Oh, it's
somebody wrote
amazing. It's great. It's great.
I remember I had the camera back then. So
Hmm.
right now I'm the only one who has access to the roast of the pies, the rose, and whatever Omicrons were still left or his eyes that were still left.
Man.
And I have my I finally have my VHS tapes sent off to Legacy Box
Yeah, Legacy Box is the
um,
best.
to get this streamed thumb drive. I hope to have it before the reunion, but I don't think I'm going to be showing it to anybody. But we'll have it soon. So the way Bach is streaming,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that because we've got some great footage. I gotta kind of edit through a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Whew,
Um,
let me tell
so
you, man. Every so
it's a great idea. It's
the
amazing.
number of times somebody comes up to the camera and be like, "Yo, this guy's never going to be president of the United States. I can tell you that much."
Yeah.
You know who these people are, but
Oh, of
like
course.
I didn't remember how much we were drinking until I watched these videos. And it's just like, hey, it's Thursday night here. It's Tuesday night. I'm like, oh my God, like me and James were laughing, like we're drinking all the time.
Yeah.
How did we do it?
It's a unique time in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty remarkable time. So
Yeah.
when you, all right, we'll bump a little bit here. Like
Sure.
when you graduate Binghamton, what is your diploma? What is your degree? What are you graduating with?
Um,
A degree in blank. Like what is your, because
great
I have a
question.
sense of what you do professionally, and I don't think it has
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
to do with sports. Well,
So
it does, but because it's competitive, but
well, listen, I got out of my degree is English with a concentration in rhetoric, which meant like I wanted to be a famous sports journalist.
yeah.
I did a an internship at the Press and Sun Bulletin, a mid-level newspaper in Binghamton. I did that senior year. Like I was hardcore. Like I made time for fun, but I was preparing myself, and that's when it
Yep.
hit me. Like uh, Bob Costas, sports guys, they actually they work nights. That's when sports are on. And when I was covering like Binghamton's local hockey game for high school, I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Mm,
Like I want to be home like my dad was, like
yeah.
between, after 5 o'clock. Like my mom was a teacher, my dad was in sales. They had the 8 to 5 jobs. That's what I wanted to do. My first job out of my first job offer out of college, get this, the second largest soccer newspaper in the country
Okay.
wanted me because I covered men's soccer for 4 years. And that guy was so excited to offer me a job for $19,000.
Yeah. That's the
He's
hard
like,
part.
but
It's probably a
you're living
great
at
gig
home,
too,
right?
but it probably would have been a fun job, but you
At
have no
home, right?
money.
You're going to be
Yeah.
rich. That's what he said to me. I was like, okay, let me think about it. So I ended up going into sales for Pitney Bowes mailing systems in the city.
Okay.
Um, and I did that for 4 years. And I was, selling leases for print, what is it? Postage machines, not the sexiest thing to be talking
Right.
about for the 4 years after college. Oh, what are you doing
Yeah.
now? I sell postage machines that put red stamps on envelopes, but it really saves people a lot of time. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
there's that.
I'm sold.
So yeah, it's really a good life, guys. I'm so excited. So I ended up going into pharmaceutical sales.
Yeah,
After that, I kind of realizes there's more to it. Like you're saving
absolutely.
people,
Absolutely.
you're saving lives, limbs, all that stuff. So it was more meaningful to me. So that's what I've been doing in a couple different jobs, but all kind of long careers at these each of these companies, and I'm really happy doing it now. It's extremely meaningful.
What year did you get married?
I got married in 2003. Pretty
Okay.
sure. I'm
Yep.
not wrong about that. Am I wrong about that? No, I'm not wrong about that. I've been married for over 20 years, two
Yeah.
decades. So I'm one of the early ones.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a 23 as well. So yeah, we're at the 20-year mark as well. So Trina, where are you guys living? Like, so if you're dating in college, like, do you move in together at some point? Like, I don't know, what's the schematics? How's that going to work?
so
Do you have to make her an honest woman first? Like, how culturally, what's the breakdown?
depends who you ask. Do I have to
Yeah.
make her honest? So we her grandfather kind of preferred we were married before we
Hmm.
moved in, but her parents were more realistic, as were mine. Again, in,
Okay.
in the world of being Jewish, it's is she Jewish? Oh my God, yes. When are we doing this?
Right.
Um, so I think we lived at home for like a year or two, and then my mom was remarrying at this point. So
Okay.
after she got married again and he was moving in with us, it was the right time for me to kind of move out. And Trina and we moved into an apartment in Forest Hills where we stayed for 3 years before going to Plainview out here in Long Island.
Where is
So,
she from originally?
so she grew up in Bayside, Queens.
Okay. So not too far. So
Yeah,
within the, yeah,
I was Comac. She was Bayside, Queens. We picked somewhere right in the middle of where our parents lived. So
got it.
extremely convenient.
Who were you in touch with those years? So you mentioned you were best man for Mark, right?
Yeah.
Like who's in your wedding party?
Oh, geez. From the fraternity, I don't know. I mean, I had some guys like a couple years had went by, and like as I felt close to so many of them.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't tell you exactly who was at my wedding. Is that bad? Is that bad? Mine was 20
No,
something years ago, guys. Back off.
I
Um,
mean, I'm assuming Mandanichi was at your
oh yeah,
wedding?
James
Yeah.
was there and in the wedding party because
Yeah.
he's Comac and Binghamton.
Hopefully
Um,
Smithers was in your wedding party. Hopefully you didn't push him
Smithers
too far down the
was he
line.
in the wedding party? Probably yeah. He had to have been in it.
Right. Well,
And then
we all remember Farid's speech. I mean, that was a remarkable one at your wedding too. We've got
yes,
that.
that's right. And then who else do we got? I was also friends with some younger guys, so like Brad Hansel
Yeah.
and um, and even the people who live near me were um, oh my God, I don't want to say Jay Giglio, Dopey. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
do real names here. It's so hard. So those guys I see a lot. Like right now, Roland, Skemmer, Rawhide. I know these guys. I don't know how
Yeah.
how well you know them, but
I know Roland.
Eric Fire, Sweet Chuck lived out here. Howie Brody lives out here. Um, so occasionally, we would still get together. But as Talk mentioned, I mean, I try and see him every once in a while. If people are around and they ask me to meet them, like I'm in, like I'm going. I don't say
Yeah.
no to these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when do kids come into the picture?
Um, Probably pretty quickly compared to like all of my friends. My kids, again, I'm not doing the math here, but what did I say? I got married in 2003. I think
That's
I don't even know what year I was in a house. 2005. My kids are now 15 years old, twin girls,
okay.
and that's 10th grade
I was gonna
for
say
the
sophomores. Yep, sophomores. Got it.
sophomores. Yeah, so I always thought maybe I'd have a boy, let the family name move on, but yeah, no. That day I found out I was having twins. I was a little taken aback. Probably shouldn't have. Trina's dad's a twin. It skips a generation.
Yeah,
Like I said,
got
I
it.
don't do math. Um,
Hmm.
it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm that guy. Okay, yeah, I guess I should have thought about this earlier. It was always a chance. It's a lot of work. Um,
Are the
every
girls
friend.
are they close?
Well,
Is it
yeah,
intermittent? Does it kind of
close. Yeah,
wave?
because their
Does it?
bedrooms are next to each other. They're
So
close.
that's the extent of it.
as they get older, they start to appreciate each other more. They're
Yeah.
like fraternal in every single way, but I
Right.
have a couple things similar. But I think that's how girls are. Like, they're Madison and Hannah, by the way, that's their names.
Okay.
They they're they've learned to be closer to each other. It's hard because when you're a twin, you want all of your own things,
Yeah, of
and you
course.
don't want to share friends, you don't want to share this. But it wasn't easy for me and Drina. I mean, like all my friends after they got married and had kids would be like, "Oh my God, you to do two of these things at once? How did
For
you
real.
survive?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
For
well,
real.
apparently not with your help." No one realized how bad we were like struggling and how hard it was.
It's so true. No,
They're
it's
like,
so
"Oh,
that
I'm so sorry. Like, I never really understood what you went through." And it's like, no, it's cool. I survived. And
nah,
now
man,
they're
it's when
together.
you lean on your family, right? Because really, the only people who have even a modicum of patience for it usually are a grandparent or like your sister, like an aunt who might be able to come over and, maybe take an afternoon off your shoulders a little bit and be like, listen, I'll cover you for a little bit. Like, but your buddies aren't going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll come watch your
No,
kids for a couple days. Yeah, sure. Like, I don't
no.
like you that much. So yeah, I get it. So do you lose, I don't want to say do you lose touch, but like you mentioned, like, listen, you're always down to see people, but with the girls at that 15-year stretch to now, really, is for like a lot of us, is there a break, where you're not seeing people much at all? Or do you feel some people have managed to pull it off? Kudos to
Yeah.
them. I don't know. Have you been
Um,
able to stay in pretty steady contact with a lot of guys?
I feel I have. I mean, like I said, I mean, James Smithers, Brad. I mean, we've all done some nice vacations
Nice.
together, not family vacations, but like,
Like
we
a
did
guy's
a lot
trip.
of
Yeah,
hanging out afterwards, even Tootsie, and some of my Comac friends all blended into that. So, I've kept in touch for a very long time with a lot of these guys, and obviously it's tapering off year after year. But
sure.
I mean, what you've done with this podcast is just you've re-energized people in a way that, like, we're all so grateful. I'm grateful, like, just to hear and hear from people like talk again. Like, you
Sure.
just wonder what's going on. So I love watching your podcast
Oh,
and
thank you.
hearing these details of everybody.
Well,
So
I think you're touching on something important, which is maybe to a person, like everyone in their mind kind of thought like, yeah, that's the way you do it, right? Like, should have done something like this a long time ago. This would have been the way. I mean, God, I don't know, Jeremy. There's easily a million podcasts that exist today, right? I mean, like, there are people that just podcast about like, oh, I'm growing my plants outside today. Like, it's the planting podcast. Like, people podcast about fucking everything
yeah,
today. But I thought of it more as not so much the reunion, and if people haven't picked up on this yet, that's the shirt. Jeremy's got the shirt on already, which is great.
right.
So people better have ordered theirs. Um, but that was kind of the far-fetched hope. Like maybe if it caught fire, that it would lead to something like that. And it led to it a lot quicker than I even thought it would come about because there was an appetite for what you just described, like the reconnection of old friends. And yours, yours is a great story, Jeremy. I think especially, not you would never trade anything in this life to not have your dad back,
Right.
obviously. But what it reaffirmed for you, obviously, was the close connections that you had built. Like, I think you knew it, but it was that moment for you of like, wow, like this is real. Like, this is something real. And for so many people who think of a fraternity as this cliche, maybe in some places it is. But for our fraternity, it
Oh,
wasn't. It's just not cliche. We actually genuinely do care for one another. We bust balls, be witness to these threads of text messages. Like it's just a whipsaw of people going after one another, but it's all in good faith, and people do genuinely care for one another. So it meant
yes.
something to a lot of people. So it's great. So talk is one. Anybody else kind of show up on your radar in the last couple months that you're like, holy shit, I haven't talked to him in 20 years.
I
Like I
mean,
can't.
come on, like I feel like almost everybody. You know, God, I just got together with Point and Tom Cross and
Yeah,
Stanley. And Stanley's my big brother, man. Like,
yeah,
so it just hasn't been consistent or there. And I know those guys have a tighter bond, but like that those pledge classes, I was with them for most of the time, of my college career, It's been great seeing them again and telling the jokes. And Pony, like, James knows this. Like James was my guy, like my person through
yeah.
through nah, since fifth grade, but especially what we did pledging together and then rooming together
And
senior year.
and I didn't know. I knew you guys were close. I had no idea how
Yeah,
far back you went. It's amazing.
it was real. But the one other person, listen, when we were hanging out, it was Jeremy, Jughead. This is in college. Jeremy, Jughead, Pony, Beaker, Penguin, Talk, Nick, so many more. But those guys, like they're in so many of the videos together. I thought like we'd be so much closer afterwards. Like
Yeah.
it's just hard to see how does that not happen? I'm watching these videos and I know Pony, like Pony stands out the most. James talks to me about this. Like Pony was like my guy. I loved everything about him. And we hung out a lot together. And it just like, man, just when someone lives here and someone else lives here,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to like align your lives? So being able to hear his voice,
Sure.
now texting each other, like this is like what
Yeah,
you're
Pony Boy
doing.
is a great texter. He's a great, great texter. And I said this in a thread recently, like as I go back and get all these pictures of you guys, to me, no one had more fun. Like God did Pony Boy enjoy every minute of his college experience. The pictures
That's
are
right.
fantastic. They're
That's
great.
right. I
They're
think we
great.
all did, man. That's why we love tapping into this. Like, you helped me. I honestly like I forget a lot of things. I mean, some of the things I probably consciously blocked out, but I
Yeah,
had to sit there and even to prepare for this, like I had to remember the order things happen. I had to remember when things happen. Like, we're old now. We've stuffed our brain with these new memories that are
for
all so
sure.
very important. I mean, my life is my family, my
Of
wife, my
course.
kids, my dog. It's just you brought back a part of this podcast has brought back like a part of who we really are and what's still
Yeah.
inside us and what made us happy and what made us who we are. So yeah, I think you can tell how grateful I am that
No,
you did this. You had me on here.
it's great. No, I'm so glad we did it. Did we miss anything? Did we cover it? You feel good?
Yeah, I think we hit
There
everything.
might be part twos down the line. Who knows? We'll see, see
Yeah,
how
yeah.
long
Good
keep
luck.
doing this
Good
for.
luck, Mike.
No,
That's on you.
I'm glad, Jeremy. It's a good story. And for, for all you guys that will follow this, like you listen to this pod, like this guy was prepared tonight. Like he had his stuff together. Like, don't stare at the screen. Like, be ready to tell some stories. Like, this is how you do it. Well done.
Thanks,
Good
man.
job. It was great. I look forward to seeing you soon, pal.
Yeah.
All
See you
right.
April
As I say
19th.
to everybody else, don't leave me on the screen, but for the rest of you, we're out of here. All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right.
Bye.
Peace. Thanks, guys.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. by.